And it is about that time for Ready, Set, Real Estate. OMG, you all. I am so fired up, especially because I had a phenomenal and powerful trip in Atlanta at the Generational Wealth Building Conference, and that was a success. The youth were showered and poured into with real estate literacy by yours truly. And today we continue on bringing phenomenal people with phenomenal stories as part of this real estate web of a world. So I want to first thank our sponsor. Thelonious C. Jones, author and real estate investor of What the Real Estate Gurus Don't Tell You. And you can check him out at gurusdon'ttellyu.com. What the Real Estate Gurus Don't Tell You, and support your local authors. I actually had a chance to meet him in person. We were building online for the last year and a half, and support the people that support you. I appreciate Thelonious, Theo, thank you again for making this show possible and allowing us to do what we do. So check him out at gurusdon'ttellyu.com. I welcome my guest, and he is on the phone today, and this is going to be so exciting. Timothy Campbell, reverse mortgage specialist. Tim, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm just fine. Thanks so much, Lisa. I really appreciate the opportunity of coming on to your show.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you're on with us. So I'm going to let people know that Tim is on the line today. And so this is going to be the fun part of the show, is that for those of you who are tuning in on the radio podcast, it's being able to connect with those who are all over the world. And I'm so excited about this because Tim, although we're online, he's actually local here in Cali. And I will let him share a little bit more about himself and what he does, how he got started, and how you can get connected with him. Again, this is so exciting because, Tim, believe it or not, people always talk about reverse mortgages in a negative kind of way. So I am so happy that we have a specialist on the line to kind of maybe debunk some of those misconceptions, because I think knowledge is power and application is wisdom, is what I like to say.
Right. Well, thank you. Reverse mortgages are, first off, they're officially called HECM, home equity conversion mortgages. And it's a government program. It's an FHA program, the HECM reverse mortgage. There are other reverse mortgages products that have come out since the original reverse mortgage done through the government. And just a little history on it. It was signed into law, I think, back in 1987 under Ronald Reagan. But they have gained popularity over the past 10 years or so with the number of baby boomers that are retiring. You have to be 62 years old in order to qualify for one. And just some, I hate to just show up and throw up, giving a whole bunch of statistics, but there are some, part of the reason that they've gained popularity is because there are approximately 10,000 people that turn 65 every single day in America.
Every single day, right. I just want to reiterate that for those who really, let's digest this. There are 10,000 people who turn 65 every single day. Okay, I'm listening. You got my attention.
That's according to the U.S. Census. That's not just the number that I'm coming up with. That's according to them.
Right.
And of people that are 65 years or older, 1/4 of all seniors, 65 years or older, rely solely on Social Security for their income. Mm-hmm. So that means 90% of these people who are turning 65, 25% of these people that are turning 65 every single day, 90% of their income is from Social Security. Another interesting statistic, when Social Security came out, or back in the 1960s, there were 16 Americans employed to support every one person on Social Security. Today, that number has shrunk down to 3. So for every one person on Social Security, there are only 3 people paying in to support that Social Security. And with that happening, there were people that could not make ends meet, but they did have homes. And since 2008, the crash of 2008, there have been trillions of dollars in equity gain. So rather than just having that equity sit there, they came up with a reverse mortgage or a HECM. And to think about a reverse mortgage it is the opposite of a forward mortgage. Most people, when you buy a home, you buy a home and as you pay, the balance goes down. Well, this is just the opposite. After every month that you take money, and there's several ways to access your equity. The equity in the home.
Okay.
It goes the opposite direction. That's the best way that I can explain it.
Okay.
So it's kind of tough to get your head around, but it's the opposite of a forward mortgage.
Right. I think it's so funny when I hear forward mortgages, because that's something from my end I deal with. Right, forward mortgages, or I call them. Is it okay to call it a standard mortgage? I don't know. I was for the caption of the show, I was referring it to as a standard mortgage. I was saying reverse mortgage versus standard mortgage, but you're calling it a forward mortgage, which I think makes a little bit more sense when we're comparing it to a reverse mortgage.
Correct.
Right. So tell us a little bit about where you're from. And I know you from, actually, Tim and I connected because I had an opportunity potentially to purchase a property. Tim is an investor. And so offline, we were talking about investing in your community and what that means. And Tim, I'd like for people to just kind of hear that aspect of your story and what you do in terms of your business.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in good old South Central Los Angeles. Went to elementary school here, junior high, high school. Went to Cal State Northridge, graduated from Cal State Northridge, and thought that it looked real cool to travel and work for a big company. I worked for IBM and 3M and got there and hated it. And had friends that were involved in real estate and were earning a good living doing that. I decided to become a loan officer, and that was back in 1986.
I know. Here's what's funny about it. When I was putting up your license number and I looked at the digits, I was like, oh, I said, this brother's been in it for a long time.
I have been. And fast forwarding, moving forward, I did. 1990 happened. There was a drop in the market back in 1990, and there were lots of foreclosures out there. So I decided to get a contractor's license, and that was back in 1992. And started buying, selling properties as well as being a loan officer, and it's worked out well.
It has worked out well. So contractor's license, loan officer license, and with a specialty and focus on doing reverse mortgages.
That is correct.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And, when I think about just kind of everything you have tied together, I definitely can see how that works well for you. That definitely gives you some access and some avenues to funding and financing and understanding numbers, and that's one of the things that you and I talk about when you're asking me, how much is it and what area? And, you say to me, all right, well, let me run the numbers.
Right.
Let me run the numbers and see if it makes sense. Part. Yes.
But, also the way that LA is changing, I'm sure if you live here in LA, you can see all the construction.
Right.
And you can see all of the infrastructure construction that's going on, not just on real property, but in our infrastructure, we're seeing subways and widening of streets and repaving and lots of things happening in the LA area.
Right.
And what I tell people, clients, when they're purchasing, and many people will qualify for one area, but they want to live in another area. And you've probably seen that, Lisa.
Yes.
Yeah. And
yeah.
I caution them and advise them strongly that what they have to do is look at what an area is going to be, not what it is now.
Ooh, okay. I've got to pause there. Look at what an area is going to be, not what it is now.
Absolutely. And do you know how many people did that for, like, me and probably you too? When I was a little boy, my mother and other people would say, ooh, what are we going to do with him?
Right.
And they look at me today, and before my grandmother passed away, she was like, wow, I'm really proud of you.
Yes.
So, you gotta kind of do that with real estate in areas of Los Angeles.
Right. And you know what? Here's what's the beautiful thing about that, Tim. I have been sharing that I've had a gift of vision for the nonprofit and with the show and with the real estate literacy and the movement. But having gone and visited, doing the work that I do has afforded me the opportunity to travel and visit various areas. And it's the same thing, Tim. It's looking at what the area is going to be, not what it is now. And that is what is setting people apart. That is what's distinguishing those who are, have an opportunity. And I think this is why artists, visionaries, creators, builders are so important. Because people will say, and that's what I kept hearing on my trip, Tim, they kept saying, this was a piece of dirt, now look at it. And I'm like, everything was a piece of dirt at some point.
Right. Well, let me say this, what's even more important is how we see ourselves. We can see ourselves as where we are now and what we've gone through, and it might not be the best, but it's about what we can be and where we can go. So it's the same thing, that's why I mentioned that. We can look at ourselves in the same way, what we are going to be. And you have to start, if your goal is to be a real estate owner or if your goal is to make a lot of money, you have to walk, talk, and act like the person that you want to be.
Step into it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yes. Yeah. And see, that goes again hand in hand with, you're hitting all these points and all these things that I've been doing just to share and embody the overall message so that people can see it as something tangible. And I have a show on Tuesday, Tim, called Shift Your Thinking Tuesdays. And I say, regardless of how many tools or guests or information or arming and empowering you that I do with real estate terms, concepts, deals, facts, if your mind, if the self-esteem, the mindset, and your self-worth and value isn't there, I am not useful to you. My colleagues will not be useful to you. My network will not be useful to you.
It starts from within.
Yeah. I'm beyond pleased right now because, again, it's not Lisa saying it. Listen to Tim. He's been doing this since the 80s.
I'm not the only person. I mean, there have been people before me that have said the same thing. It's as you think. What is it? As we think it.
Right.
We become.
Yes, absolutely.
Real simple stuff. So you have to see yourself. You have to walk, talk, and act like a person of success.
Ooh. I call that moment Real Estate Gems, # Real Estate Gems. We are on with Timothy Campbell. If you're just joining us, Timothy Campbell, reverse mortgage specialist, and we're delving into some heavy stuff in terms of real estate value. And again, this goes to looking at you as the real estate. It starts with you first. Oh my goodness. And if you just tuned in, if you've missed some gems, be sure to catch us on the replay. We are available on podcasts everywhere. And that's what's so exciting. So get hit to what we're doing on the show, Ready, Set, Real Estate. Tim, share with us, as I said, it was very significant to actually have you on the show to touch on reverse mortgages. And I wanted to talk about some pros. And you talked about buying property and just kind of sitting on equity. So share with us what that means in terms of those who are eligible to use the product. And this is a senior product, and you said age 62 and up, right?
Correct.
Okay.
At the 62-year-old, there are reverse mortgages, or you can purchase a home with a reverse mortgage. If you're 62 years old and you put about 40 to 45% down on a property that you purchased, you never have to make a mortgage payment again as long as you're alive.
Wow. And you say that's so easy. What's involved?
Well, there is a qualification, but the qualification is not like it is with a forward mortgage. With a reverse mortgage, the qualifications are making sure that the borrower has the capacity to pay their taxes and insurance, capacity to pay their utilities around the house. And those things were not tested in reverse mortgages of 10 years ago. And that kind of gave reverse mortgages a bad name because they would loan an elderly person money against their home, and they would get it in a lump sum and they would spend it shortly. Now they have to, there are guidelines that we have to adhere to make certain that the money lasts. Is not really another way to say it.
Right.
There are lines of credit, and the lines of credit that you can actually grow as the equity grows.
Wow. The lines of credit can grow as your equity grow. So it's something that popped to my mind, especially because I think understanding what someone is getting into with a reverse mortgage, and I think the con or the negative perspectives have been coming from people feeling like, oh, I guess not being clear. And you said something you pointed out, as long as you're paying there, you still due, property taxes are still due. You're not going to get rid of that. That still has to be paid.
Utilities, you have to have your gas on, your minimum standards for your home, and you have to occupy the property at least 181 days out of every year.
And you at minimum have to occupy the property at least 181 days out of the year.
Out of every year, correct.
Out of every year. Okay. And see, I didn't know that. And that was good. That's good. I didn't know that. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Reverse mortgages are non-recourse loans.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, let's say one day you have a reverse mortgage and values drop again. And you owe, I'm just going to use a number, a borrower owes, let's say $500,000, but the house is only worth $400,000. That $100,000 that is, what's the word I want to use? The $100,000 that's owed it's non-recourse, so they do not, you only pay off what the house appraises for. So if it comes in for less than what is actually owed, the delinquent amount is wiped away.
Okay. So say that last part again. So
you have a house.
Yeah.
The house is worth $400,000, and you owe $500,000 on your reverse mortgage. That delinquent the $100,000 that won't be paid off is non-recourse. In other words, it doesn't stay with you. It's not going to go on your credit. You're not responsible for it.
Okay.
Another great thing about the reverse mortgage is when the borrower passes on, their family can purchase. They have an option of paying off the loan and keeping the house. They can, a family member can purchase the house for 95% of what's owed on it. Or if there's equity there, they can sell the house and the estate and keep the equity.
And that's very, very important. Let me reiterate that for those who have been feeling like the bank or the lender takes the house when the person transitions. That's the first thing I hear flying out the mouth, flying out the neck, Tim, is that the bank is taking the house. However, you just stated the family has an opportunity to purchase, buy back the home, because again, with the reverse mortgage, the homeowner has essentially tapped into the equity in the property and has taken out a mortgage on the property that has to be paid back. And so you're saying the family can pay it back or buy it back at how much? What was it, 95%?
95% of value. So they can refinance the house. They can purchase the house.
They can refinance the house or purchase the house. And then, of course, like you said, or sell the house. Because oftentimes what I'm seeing is the cost of living in various places in high markets are causing implants in other places. So a lot of times where people have grown up, especially in LA, the children don't live here anymore and they don't want the property. So they will opt for selling the house. I think we have to put a lot of those things in perspectives when people are hearing that the beneficiaries are selling the property. Well, oftentimes the beneficiaries don't live here and don't plan on coming back here. They're looking at the cost of living in relation to where they are, and they don't want to incur property management. They just don't want a deal. So again, this whole show platform is about highlighting and educating, arming and empowering. When we're talking about reverse mortgages, no one's coming to take the house. Like, there's a protocol. There's ways and steps. So yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's no more, the bank doesn't own it any more than it would own a house of a person that has a forward mortgage. So you owe the bank some money. You actually own the home, but you owe the bank money on that home. And it's the same way with the reverse mortgage.
It's same principle, right? See, I'm so glad you said that. It's no different than when you own a forward mortgage, that the bank is not owning per se the property. You own it, you owe them. And with a reverse mortgage, you own the property and you owe them a certain amount. Very, very good. Very, very good. That alone, I'm so happy that we've touched on it. And for those of you who know someone, especially seniors who may have opted or might be thinking about taking out a reverse mortgage, make sure you have a conversation with a reverse mortgage specialist and or a realtor, and perhaps your team, the real estate attorney as well, because oftentimes what we're seeing too is there are living trusts on the property, right? So this is what I'm hearing, is that you can't do a reverse on a property that has a living trust.
That's not true.
That's not true.
It depends on whether it's revocable or irrevocable. And even I've seen instances where if it's irrevocable, there are ways to work around it if if it's helping the borrower stay in their home or improve the lifestyle of the borrower.
There it is. Very good. Very good. Tim.
Reverse. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I want you to finish. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, if you, with Social Security, if you wait a little bit longer, sometimes if you wait to you're 62 and if you wait to you're 65 or 66, you'll get X percent more Social Security for the rest of your life. A reverse mortgage should help fill that gap if you are, having it tough and you'd like to hold out until you're 65 before you start your Social Security. A reverse mortgage is a great way to do it. It could be a great way to do that. It
could be, right. And again, it's a case by case. This is not a one size fits all. I want to say that disclaimer. And I oftentimes as a professional get asked that question all the time, Tim, what do you think about a reverse mortgage? And I say, it depends on the person. It depends on the family. It depends on what are the family's goals. Because as part of doing a reverse mortgage, there's a counseling happening, right? There's a required.
Before we can even take a loan application, there is counseling, and it's a counselor that is independent of me, independent of my company, and they give you the pros and cons of a reverse mortgage before we can even take an application. Reverse mortgages have changed so much, and they're so strict. And when I say strict, it's for the benefit of the borrower.
for the benefit of the borrower. Right. Again. And that's, see, this is why I'm in my happy space right now, Tim, because I've got you on the line. We are,
it's good to be here.
we've got you debunking all these, it's just so much misinformation that's being put out there. And again, Lisa is not saying, I'm not rooting for you to go do it. I just said it is a case by case, and it is dependent on the family's needs. It's dependent on the owner's needs, because oftentimes I find people don't have beneficiaries. They don't have children. So it's either going to be the bank could be a beneficiary, or a charity or organization. And or a nonprofit. I'm definitely advocating for those of you we are happy to be a percentage of the nonprofit, a percent beneficiary as a nonprofit. And you can do that. You can do that with your bank accounts, anything. So again,
can I give another example?
I want you to, please.
Okay. First off, if there are questions or you want to contact me, please go to my website, www.life Mortgage Funding, LIFE Mortgage Funding, because I can do loans from if you're a first time home buyer, I can do your loan, VA, refinances, purchases, and reverse mortgages as well. So lifemortgagefunding.com is my web address, and feel free to contact me or fill out an application. And I have a link there that answers many of the questions, but I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it, your specific case. But what I was going to say was, let's say you're 62 years old, or you're 65 and you have retired, and you have a mortgage payment on your home, and you'd like to get rid of that mortgage payment. You can get a reverse mortgage, refinance it, and never make a mortgage payment again. So if your mortgage payment were $2,000, $2,500 per month, that's an extra $2,000, $2,500 a month that could change someone's life.
Right.
For the better, by not having to make a mortgage payment again.
Right.
Yeah. That happens. We see those all the time.
And I'm sure you do. It's a lifestyle, especially because something that you addressed, and I'm going to bring us back to the beginning before we kind of close this off, because time, didn't I say 20 minutes goes by so quickly?
Yeah, we're at 3 minutes.
Right.
I've got time.
So. Good. So one of the things that you mentioned was every day, 10,000 people turn 65. And not only is that happening, but they're living longer. What a blessing. What a blessing.
What a blessing. However, when Social Security was originally created, the lifespan for the average American was 65 years old.
However, listen to that.
5 ain't old anymore.
However, when the Social Security system was created, the average lifespan was 65. So now we have a huge gap in terms of lifestyle, being able to carry on lifestyle, just basics too, right? And we see this.
Absolutely.
We see this all the time.
If you live here in LA, we just saw a new 12 cents a gallon gas tax that went on the gas. We have special gas here in California, which makes the average gallon of gas with $3.50 a gallon right now.
Right.
Rents are continually going up. People are living longer, and Social Security, we're still using it the way it was designed, years ago.
Right.
So that you can see where there's a gap there.
Right. I want to ask you one more question, and it might be two more. So, especially because we talked about, you just mentioned cost of living, and we were talking about this, locking in cost of living, and people are saying, oh my gosh, but it's so expensive. That word is so relative.
It is.
It's so relative. Touch on what we were sharing about in terms of cost of living, locking that in. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the example that I was sharing with Lisa earlier was my parents. Back in 1967, they purchased a home, and they had 4 kids. My father was a teacher. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. And their mortgage payment was $180 a month. Back in 1967, that was substantial. That was, I wouldn't say it was expensive. It was modest at the time, but it was still a big hunk of their income was the home that they lived in.
Right.
Fast forward 50 years. Do I have to say anything? $180 barely gets your car payment.
Right.
Car payment.
That's a gas.
Right?
That's a tank of gas for a week, depending on what car you drive.
It could be gas for a week or so. Yeah. I mean, the car. They purchased a new car, and the payment on the car, I think, was $60-$70 per month.
It's relative.
That's a tank of gas for sure.
Right.
So locking in, what we were talking about is locking in your living expenses now by getting involved with real estate.
Right.
It just makes total sense. Not to include the other benefits that go along with it, such as probably 80-85% of a mortgage is interest for the first 10 years. So you get to write off up to, what is it now? Donald Trump's tax bill.
It's up to, so the first mortgage up to $750,000. Yeah. So the mortgage interest, and in terms of property taxes, it's property taxes and a collective of state and local taxes up to $10,000. So, but like you said, when we're looking at, for the most part in the country, up to $750 on the first mortgage, that's still a lot of people, and it's still an added benefit. So don't be dissuaded by the tax reform, feeling like home ownership is no longer attractive anymore. It's definitely, it's not true. So again, see, we've touched and covered on a whole bunch of misconceptions and debunking. We're going to leave them right there with that. If they'd like to learn more, you can definitely connect with Tim. Phone number, Tim?
323-600-6966. And just mention the show. Or you could go to the website, Life Mortgage Funding, www.lifemortgagefunding, MORTGAGE, funding, FUND. lifemortgagefunding.com. There's a link there to find out more about reverse mortgages. There's a link there to fill out an application if you like. I'd be more than happy to call you and talk to you more about your situation.
Absolutely. See, who's in your network? I had an opportunity to just kind of mention that in terms of the people that I bring on is, I've got to be a good steward at this too, Tim, because I've been entrusted with this. And so it's very important that we're arming as well as empowering, but we're just not doing that with faux pas, right?
Right.
So thank you.
And then
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, I eat my own cooking. I actually own a substantial amount of real estate. I love what I do. I mean, at least it's the same way.
Tim, Tim definitely does. And it is so amazing how you get connected with people of like minds. Again, and I think that comes from what you had shared, right? As you think it and walking into that, but you addressed it has to come again from the I am real estate. And for those who are connected with me, know what that technique is. It's a technique we do through the workshop that I do with the children. And Tim, that's part of everything that we do. It's just making sure people are tapping into the I am real estate.
Is it the am that I am, right?
That's right. Yeah. Any last remarks in closing as we wrap this up? I'm just, I'm so full. I'm happy because you touched on just a snippet of things that I'm always pressed about in terms of what about and what if and what do you think? And you touched on it. And if there are specific case by case situations, that warrants a phone call, you guys. Call the specialist.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. All right, so we will see you next week on Ready, Set, Real Estate. Thank you for tuning in. This has been another powerful episode on Ready, Set, Real Estate.